students, yesterday we have started with the chapter reproduction in organisms, in which we have already discussed the definition of lifespan, reproduction, its importance, as well as we have also discussed that how the organism going to reproduce depends on which factor, right? We have also started with the types of reproduction, that is asexual and sexual reproduction, but we have discussed only one point. So now let us proceed further. So let's begin. So yesterday we have discussed regarding the types of reproduction, that is asexual and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction we have discussed that offsprings are produced by a single parent, whereas in sexual reproduction they are produced by two parents. Now you must be knowing that in asexual reproduction usually the reproductive organs are not participating, right? So asexual reproduction, during asexual reproduction there is no involvement of gamete formation, right? So here there is no involvement of gamete formation, right? Whereas in sexual reproduction their gamete formation also takes place, as well as it also involves the fusion of gamete. So here gamete formation takes place as well as fusion of gametes is also involved, right? I hope that you must be knowing that the offsprings that are formed due to asexual reproduction, they look very similar, right? That means they are identical to their parents, right? So here the offsprings produced are identical, or we can say exact copies, identical copies of parents. Whereas what happens here, you know very well that offsprings are not identical. Offsprings are not identical to their parents, right? So I hope that these 3 points are clear. There are other points as well, जैसे कि asexual reproduction. During asexual reproduction the type of cell division that is taking place is generally mitosis, whereas during sexual reproduction meiosis takes place, right? Asexual reproduction is comparatively faster than the sexual reproduction, but these 2 points are not given in the textbook, fine? Now if a difference between is asked, then you are supposed to write at least 4 points. Here you can see that we have up till now discussed only 3 points, right? So 4th point will be obviously examples, but we are not supposed to write in the format of example, as I have always told you, right? So we will write the example in the form of it takes place in what, right? So asexual reproduction takes place in lower organism and in higher plants, right? So next point will be that asexual reproduction takes place in lower organisms and higher plants, right? So after this difference between, we are going to discuss the asexual reproduction in lower organisms, right? But here we are not going to discuss regarding higher plants, but I hope that in your lower standards you must have heard the name of grafting, cutting and layering, right? So grafting, cutting and layering are type of asexual methods that are performed in higher plants, right? Whereas sexual reproduction takes place in what? So it takes place in higher plants and animals. All right, समझ में, right? So this is all regarding the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. Now in various movies as well you might have heard the term clone. Do you know what is a clone? Many times I am asking you that if another Ajit ma'am is created from me, right, directly from my body cell, then that will be a clone of mine, fine? So here clone means that morphologically and genetically similar offspring. Morphology also same, whereas the genetic is also same. What I think, that next Ajit ma'am will also think the same thing, right? So here the term clone is associated with what? Asexual or sexual. So I hope that it is clear in your mind that it is associated with the asexual reproduction, right? So asexual reproduction may you should also remember that morphological and genetically similar offsprings are called what? They are called clone, right? So here the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction gets over. I hope it is clear in your mind. If again we repeat the points, in asexual reproduction, offsprings are produced by single parent. Their two parents are involved. Here no involvement of gamete formation. Their gamete formation takes place as well as fusion of gametes is also involved. Here the offspring produced are identical to their parents, whereas there the offspring produced are not identical to their parents. Here it takes place in lower organisms and higher plants, and sexual reproduction takes place in higher plants and higher animals, right? And morphologically and genetically similar offsprings are called clones. Fine. Now we are going to proceed on the next topic, that is asexual reproduction in animals. So in asexual reproduction, we are going to study 4 types. Actually in textbook they have given the first 3 and then later on they have given the 4th one. But we will study them together, right? So the 4 types we are going to study is, the first one is the binary fission. The second one is the sporulation. The third one we are going to study is the budding, that is buds, and the fourth one that is given later, that is the fragmentation. So let us begin with the first one, that is binary fission. So binary fission is generally seen in single-celled organisms such as monerans and protista, right? So in monera and protista what happens? So in monera and protista, the mother cells, they split into 2 equal halves, and then each half rapidly grows into an adult, right? So it is so easy. Or which are the examples in monera and protista? So you know that the examples are amoeba, then there is paramecium, right? So I hope binary fission is clear in your mind, that it takes place in moneras and protista, where the mother cell splits into 2 equal halves which rapidly grow into an adult. For example, amoeba and paramecium. The second one is sporulation. Right. Now sporulation can also be regarded as multiple fission. आ रहा है समझ में? Now sporulation is also taking place in amoeba. Under favorable condition, amoeba reproduces by binary fission. But when there is unfavorable condition, then amoeba reproduce by sporulation. So when the amoeba faces unfavorable condition, then what happens? When the amoeba faces unfavorable condition, first thing it does is it gives off its pseudopodia. I hope that you know what is pseudopodia. Pseudopodia means false feet. They are just the cytoplasmic extension. When it gives off the pseudopodia, it forms a cyst. What kind of cyst it is? It is a 3-layered structure. And the process by which it forms the cyst is termed as encystation, right? After forming the cyst, it lives in this condition until there is unfavorable condition. And the moment when the favorable condition returns, the nucleus of this encysted amoeba undergoes multiple fission, right? And it produces numerous pseudopodiospores. Now what is the meaning of pseudopodiospores? Pseudopodiospores means minute amoeba. आ रहा है समझ में? Then the cyst wall burst and the amoebas are released, right? So this is what is happening during sporulation, right? Sporulation takes place during unfavorable condition. For example, amoeba. When amoeba faces unfavorable condition, it gives off its pseudopodia, forms a cyst which is a 3-layered structure by the process called encystation. When favorable condition returns, the nucleus of the encysted amoeba undergoes multiple fission, produces pseudopodiospores, the cyst fall burst and the amoebas are released. The third one is budding, or we can say bud. Bud is seen in what? It is seen in yeast. Now what is the difference between budding and this binary fission? In binary fission, the division is equal, right? We have seen that the mother cell splits into two equal halves, whereas in yeast the division is unequal, right? So in yeast, where the division is unequal, the bud remains. Here is what happens in this, that the bud remains attached to the parent body initially, and later on it separates and matures into a new organism, right? So in budding, in yeast, where the division is unequal, the buds remain attached to the mother body or parent body, and later separate and mature into new organism. Okay, now the last one is, that is the fourth one, that is fragmentation. The word itself says fragments, that means the body breaks into pieces. So here the body breaks into pieces, and each fragment will behave as an individual, and each fragment grows into an adult. And in which organism this is seen? So this can be seen in Hydra. Clear hai bhai mein? Right? There are certain members of kingdom fungi, and there are certain simple plants. Simple plants are the plants that first came on the earth, that is algae. Now how they both reproduce? So they both asexually reproduce through zoospores. We have already studied in 11th standard regarding zoospores, that they are motile asexual reproductive units. So zoospores are what? They are microscopic asexual reproductive units, right? There are some other examples of asexual reproductive structures. For example, conidia. Conidia are non-motile. This is motile, and conidia is seen in penicillium, right? Then there is buds. We have already seen budding can be seen in yeast, budding can be seen in Hydra, and there is gemmules, right? Gemmules can be seen in sponges. Gemmules means what? Gemmules means internal buds. The diagram is also given in the textbook, you can refer to it. Fine. So I hope that the types of asexual reproduction in animal is clear in your mind. So we have discussed that there are 4 types, that is binary fission, sporulation, budding, and fragmentation, right? What happens during binary fission? It's seen in Monera and Protist, where the mother cell splits into 2 equal halves, which rapidly grows into an adult. Example is amoeba paramecium. Sporulation, most important 2-mark question can be asked. Unfavorable condition, sporulation takes place during unfavorable condition. For example, when amoeba faces unfavorable condition, it gives off the pseudopodia, forms a cyst, which is a 3-layered structure, and the process is called encystation. And when the favorable condition returns, the nucleus of the encysted amoeba undergo multiple fission and produces pseudopodiospores, which are minute amoeba. Then the cyst wall bursts and the amoebas are released, right? The third one, budding. Budding is seen in yeast, where the division is unequal. Initially the buds remain attached to the parent body, and later it separates and matures into a new organism. Fragmentation, where the body breaks into pieces and each fragment grows into an adult. For example, Hydra, right? Zoospores are motile, microscopic, asexual reproductive structures which are seen in fungi and algae. Conidias are non-motile, which are seen in penicillium. Penicillium is a fungus. Buds are seen in Hydra, yeast we have already discussed. And gemmules means internal buds, which are seen in sponges, right? So this is all about asexual reproduction in animals, and in the next lecture we will discuss about asexual reproduction in plants. Thank you.